Good afternoon, everybody. So today we are here to commemorate Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we know we do that every October. And unfortunately, we didn't distribute the memo. My colleagues usually wear their really cool pink ties, but we kind of, I'm here representing for everybody, but they will do that next year for sure. And so I want to welcome Claire Dougherty. She's the CEO of the Brum Foundation. And after we read the proclamation, she'll make some remarks. Traditionally, here on the County Council, every year we do our best to spotlight organizations that are doing amazing work in the space of breast cancer awareness is also support. And it is something, a tradition that we here take very, very seriously because we know the devastation, the breast cancer, the impact, the devastating impact that it has in our communities. And it is important to note that 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer at some point in their life. And then when you think, of course, of that statistic, you realize the impact that it has on all of us. I oftentimes have, shared that my younger sister, Aldred Elizabeth Navarro, died of metastatic breast cancer in 2010, and she was 39 years old. And she had an opportunity, actually, to receive some treatment here in Montgomery County. And there were organizations that were extraordinary. And I had a front row seat in terms of the extraordinary support that they provided to her and to so many, many women. And it makes an absolute difference. We never think that we have to be confronted ever with a situation where you're literally sitting across the table from your 39-year-old sister talking about things like the best possible wig that you can have, or radiation treatment, and it's something that it is so critical to have organizations present who provide that kind of support and help family members also be there for their loved ones. And so it is something that is very near and dear to my heart and to many of us also here on the County Council. And so what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the Brum Foundation, which actually has been around since 2006 and has dedicated itself to maximizing every woman's chance of survival through education, access, and early detection, which is so important, as we all know. They not only educate women on the importance of screening, but also ensure they have access to diagnostic tests and even will give someone a ride to their appointment if it is needed. Through advocacy, they have worked tirelessly to ensure everyone affected has a fighting chance, regardless of their financial means. And you will hear a little bit more about their work. So I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'll ask Claire to make some remarks. And of course, if any of my colleagues want to make remarks as well, they are also welcome. Whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and since the campaign began in 1985, there has been a gradual reduction in female breast cancer in women aged 50 and older, and death rates have declined since 1990 due to better screening, early detection, increased awareness, and continually improving treatment options. And whereas in the United States, more than 287,850 women and approximately 2,710 men are diagnosed with breast cancer annually. 1 in 8, or 13% of women, will develop breast cancer at some point in her life, making breast cancer the most common cancer among women except for skin cancer. And whereas since 2006, the Brum Foundation has reached over 2 million people with education on early detection of breast cancer, covered the cost of over 2,000 tests, has given over 1,200 rides to screening and diagnostic appointments, and helped to draft and pass dense breast legislation at the local level. And whereas the Brum Foundation continues to actively serve thousands in Montgomery County and dedicate themselves to maximizing every woman's chance of detecting breast cancer early, regardless of her ability to pay, through education, access, and advocacy. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the disparities in access to needed medical treatment, faced by communities of color nationwide, as well as risks that comorbidity with breast cancer poses to individuals. And whereas this month, we stand with the mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, and friends who have been affected by breast cancer, and we recognize the ongoing efforts of dedicated advocates, researchers, and healthcare providers, and contributions of organizations like the Brum Foundation, helping to prevent, detect, and treat cancer, and working towards a future free from cancer in all forms. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes October 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this is signed by our Council President, Gabe Albornoz, and myself, Nancy Navarro. And before I turn it over to Claire, I just want to say it's so important to make sure you schedule your mammogram. I did that and then had a call back, and that was fine. But it is so important to do that and to be very methodical and making sure that you're constantly on top of your own health. So with that, Claire, we'd love to hear from you and then from any of my colleagues that would like to make some remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, what an honor to be here with all of you today. And I have to say, Councilmember Navarro, it really breaks my heart to hear about your sister, and I really appreciate you sharing the story. And I think the Brum Foundation was created to make sure that no more 39-year-old women die from breast cancer ever again. Our focus is early detection. Detect early, save lives is our mantra. We focus on doing so, as I mentioned, or as was mentioned, through education, through access programs, and advocacy. We are thrilled and really honored to work in Montgomery County, primarily through Adventist Health. They are one of our prime partners, and we work to provide grants to them to cover the costs of diagnostic services for women who often can't afford them, as the out-of-pocket costs can be really high for ultrasounds and MRIs. And we have a unique and innovative partnership with Lyft, the ride-sharing service, removing transportation as an access barrier. But really, I think this month is about the women. It's about the women who have passed. It's about the women who have survived. And it's about the women like Councilwoman Navarro and so many others, and of course her colleagues, who stand up and say, no more. We're not going to have women die from breast cancer when there are so many tools at our disposal to diagnose and detect early. My last thing will be, I think it was very important earlier this month when Katie Couric came forward with her diagnosis, because I think she really reminded us all, we have to get screened. We have to stay on top of our screening. Even 6 months late can make things harder for you if you are diagnosed with breast cancer. So women, please advocate for yourself. Make sure that you understand your risk factors, your family history, your breast density situation, and make sure that you are using all the tools in your toolbox to remain healthy. But this sort of proclamation really means a lot, and we look forward to partnering with the Montgomery County Council to save more women's lives across the county. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Navarro, for bringing us together. As fate would have it, we're having a special session on Thursday where my colleagues and I will be together, and I promise I will be wearing a pink tie during that special session, and I suspect my colleagues will as well. So this has touched so many families, including mine. As we speak, my aunt, Lisa Max, is battling breast cancer right now. And she is among my mom's best friends. And seeing it how has it not just impacted Lisa, but her entire family and our entire extended family has been so challenging. But seeing how she has fought so valiantly has also been so inspiring. And so I so appreciate the work of this remarkable foundation to make sure, as noted, that we don't have to experience that more families don't have to experience this moving forward. So this is an important month for us to recognize awareness, to recognize the preventative measures that our loved ones must take, and really eliminate the stigma associated with this terrible cancer. So thank you so much, Councilmember Navarro, for your continued leadership on this and so many other issues.
Well, I want to say thank you to Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Navarro knows all too well she's heard the stories about my Aunt Gloria, who passed away from breast cancer, and now my cousin Tiffany, who basically grew up as my sister, is now in the battle of her life. This is something, unfortunately, that affects both sides of my family, both on my wife's side and on my side, to where there's a history of breast cancer in our family. And so as Tiffany, and I want to give her a shout out for being such a trooper, is fighting continuously and just finished her rounds of chemotherapy. And so we're very hopeful for success in terms of having a positive outcome. But this is one where, and I thank Councilmember Navarro for also highlighting the men, because my Uncle Benny actually is finally on a great pathway to recovery after having some continual issues regarding his breast cancer. And so I want to highlight, as we're approaching Men's Health Month in November, to remind men that you are not immune from breast cancer as well. And so please continue to get checked as well. Be mindful of your body. Make sure that you're doing those kinds of inspections and tests, because this is not just women. While it predominantly affects women, there is no question that there are men who get diagnosed every single year. And so from that standpoint, we need to highlight that more for our men, especially our men of color, who oftentimes typically don't get checked out as much as their counterparts. And so from that standpoint, I'm really appreciative of the Brum Foundation for all the work that you continue to do, because as my cousin Tiffany said, things are different now between when Aunt Gloria had breast cancer and when I have it. And I know that I can beat this. And so that's what we want for everyone. We want to make sure that everyone can beat this, and collectively working with great foundations, working with great leaders like Councilmember Navarro and all of my colleagues and all of you in this room, we can make that happen. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much to Councilmember Navarro and to the foundation and everyone associated with this. Unfortunately, there's no family that I have ever met over the last several years that has not been affected by breast cancer, with certainly in my own family and my wife's family. And it's so difficult because you don't know what to do, and you feel so, in many cases, helpless. But I also want to take a moment to thank those people who have gotten into the profession of helping other people. And I have friends who were oncologists who absolutely save lives every day. And many times we almost take that for granted. We almost think that this is a death sentence, and it is not, because of the research, much of which is done right here in Montgomery County, that people have taken their lives, made their lives to save other people's lives. So with that, I thank you for all that you do, but we certainly thank those who, many of whom are not in the room today. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just echo my gratitude to the foundation and to Councilmember Navarro for continuing to honor her sister by raising awareness of this horrible scourge that claims so many lives each year. Sydney's right. It's affected all of us. All of us have friends or family members, in my case, former legislative aide as well, greatly affected by breast cancer. And I'm sorry to hear the stories of my colleagues, and I'm grateful for you to mention your mentioning of the impact on men as well. We're in many ways, as bad as this disease is, very lucky in Montgomery County that we have such great providers. We have great clinics, community-based clinics. We have great nonprofit partners, and we have a lot of availability of treatment, of providers, and testing. But none of that matters if people don't take advantage of them, which is why events like this and our continued dialogue around this are so important, Councilmember Navarro. So thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for everything that's happening at the foundation. And we want to know any ways that we can continue to be supportive to help you in your life-saving work. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to take a photo.